Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be doing my last season's best list of the 2024-25 season, and this is the women. This season's best list, I feel like, could have gone any number of ways. I often struggle with the women, and I don't know why. I think that there's always a cream that rises to the top, and then for me, there's like a lot of programs that are really sort of in the middle that I could have picked 20 different programs to fill the same 10 spots. But here we go. I did want to give some love to some junior ladies for the women because there were a lot of really fantastic junior programs this season. Really enjoyed both of Amy Nakai's programs also, but the two that I'd selected were Mao Shimada's short program to Defying Gravity and Karuko Wada's Free Skate to Titanic. They were my favorite short program and free skate respectively of the year for juniors. A lot of really good gems in there, but definitely go check those out if you have not seen those. All right. And then before I get into my top 10 list for the women, I do want to talk about some honorable mentions because like I said, it was a lot of different skaters that had some really good programs, especially yet again, the Japanese women who had a phenomenal Grand Prix this season, had a lot of really good programs amongst them as well. One was Rion Tsumiyoshi, really enjoyed both of her programs. And she gets an honorable mention, especially for her free skate. Really enjoyed Josephine Talagar's free skate to Celine Dion's All Coming Back to Me Now. It was a really rough season for her, and she is someone who has been very high on my previous two seasons best list. Did not make it this year, but definitely want to give her a mention because she always has some really fantastic programs. And also to Nina Petrokina. Dune was so overused this year, right? We were all so sick of Dune, like a couple of months into the season. And Nina's is one that stood out back in the challenger circuit, but her jumps just weren't there. And so the program wasn't all the way there. And of course, it came together really fantastically for her at Europeans. And she had a good performance of it at Worlds too. Didn't quite make the list, but really enjoy the footwork sequence that she has, a lot of the really cool moves, the music selection that she picked, I feel like also worked for her free skate this year as well. So she gets an honorable mention. All right, let's hit the top 10. So coming in at number 10 from Team Japan is Hana Yoshida. And this is her free skate to SOS. I just use SOS because that way I don't butcher the rest of the pronunciation for the song. Same song that Adam Seo Himfa used in his short program, but a different arrangement of the song. I believe this one comes from the Cirque du Soleil soundtrack Stone, which also had the song that Deanne Max used, Oxygen, in their short program last season. This program is choreographed by Benoit. There are lots of Benoit programs on this list for the women. I feel like this program really starts with her costume is fantastic. I feel like her and Ryun Shomiyoshi and her free skate really compete for the best costumes of the year for the ladies. I really like her hair too. So for me, the packaging just works really well for the program. It's a well choreographed program. The music is great. There's some pieces, the parts of the program that I really like the Hydroblade movement that she does at the end of her choreographic sequence and her combination spin. I think the step sequence is cool. She could 100% have more flow. There are better skaters, quote, quote, and they have better artistry than Hana does in this particular list and among those that didn't make the list. But I think for yet again, another year in a row that she has two really well choreographed programs that help her to grow with her artistry. She didn't make the list last season, but I did enjoy her free skate last season as well. And I thought her short program this year was pretty decent also. But the free skate was a real standout all season. And she's worked with kind of a range of choreographers. We saw her work with Caitlin Weaver last season. She worked with Lori Nickel on her short program this season, and then Benoit on her free skate. So she's getting a lot of different flavors from a lot of different choreographers. And perhaps that will help propel her into the Olympic season, when she's going to be trying very, very hard to get on that Olympic team. But very enjoyable program for Hana. At number 9, I have Isabella Levito's short program to Moon River. This was not her original short program. This is the second year in a row she's scrapped her short, although this year it came much quicker than last season, where she used one short program for the entirety of the fall and then switched at nationals to a different short program. Here, she debuted a short program to Swan Lake at Cranberry Cup and then scratched that and came up with this, which really has been one of the best programs of her short career. Really allowed her to sort of get out of that classical box a little bit, to give her a little bit more of almost a character piece. She's portraying Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. You can see quite a bit of personality in the footwork sequence, like her putting her hand over her mouth and changing her facial expressions. I think the use of her arms throughout the program is really strong. I feel like the second half of this short program is really where it comes alive. And for me, the first half is what keeps it from being a little bit higher on the list. I know for a lot of people, this was their top 2, 3, 4 programs of the year. Still such a really strong program. Just for me, there were other programs that were more entertaining or had a little bit more nuanced, but still just a really fantastic showing for Isabeau in this program this season. And this is actually the first time she's made my season's best list, because I feel like a lot of her programs in the past, outside of the attempt at the snake program that she did in the short program last season, she's really kind of stayed kind of in the same wheelhouse. And so this, I felt like, played to all of her strengths, but sort of got her out of that classical box a little bit, which was really nice. At number 8, I have Yuna Aoki, also of Japan, and this is her short program to Adios no Niño. This was choreographed by Misha Gi. I really struggled for a second year in a row with her because I really enjoyed both of her programs. In fact, when I compiled this list originally, what was my final list, so I thought it was actually her free skate to Popsicle that was in this very same spot. And I went back, watched the short program again, and decided to go with the short program over her free skate. I really find that she just has this quiet command to her skating. She's very expressive in her upper body, and it just exudes a lot of confidence. She doesn't really need big dramatic cuts of the music, because I feel like she creates that really on her own. And really enjoy, like I said, both of her programs. I just give this one the edge just a little bit, because I feel like in a season where there's a lot of tango programs, I felt like this was one that just really stood out. All right, next I have Chion Kim at number 7, and this is her short program to Different Selections from Tron by Daft Punk. This one was also choreographed by Benoit. Benoit's got a lot of range. We've seen already in this countdown. She is someone that does not emote super well. So if you give her a big dramatic piece of music, it helps to camouflage that a little bit. Drama just really, I think, is the way to go for her. Not that, the more kind of classical style didn't work for her in the free skate this season, which I think that it was an improvement over what we've seen, but I think that this style definitely suits her a lot better. The costume is great. I love the opening pose, the very dramatic, arms down that she does at the beginning. I don't think this program needs the voiceovers that are in there, but I think it's part of the music and part of the soundtrack, and it has a really strong musical background while the voiceovers are going, so it doesn't take you out of the program, and I don't find it to be super distracting. But I'm a sucker for Tron programs in general, because I think it's just really great music, and I think that she found a way to really live up to it, because I think that it's easy for the music to overpower the skater if they don't skate big enough to it. All right, moving on to number 6, and here we go, Team Japan again. This is Cowie Sookamoto, and this is her free skate to All That Jazz. This is a program that I was not a fan of at the beginning of the season. at all. I just thought, really, this is where we're going this season? I just didn't really feel the magic from this at all until about NHK Trophy. And that's really when I started to come around to this program. And that performance, honestly, was probably her best performance of it all year. She was really great at Worlds too, but at NHK, it just really, I think, was her best performance of the season. It's just, to me, it shows how incredibly versatile Kaori is. And I probably talked about this at this time last year when she made my season's best list for one of her programs. But it's just amazing that this is the same skater that we've seen do The Matrix and that did a tango in her short program this season, Gladiator, and was doing Feeling Good last year. Just so many different things, and she does all of them so well. I think that she does a really good job of just bringing tons of personality into this piece. There is no break in this program, and she keeps the energy up just really the whole time. It was a choice to choose to do just All That Jazz and not do a medley to different songs from Chicago like Orihara and Pirinen did in their free dance last year. But it ended up really working for her in this, and I enjoyed it just tremendously by the end of the season. And so it is just out of the top 5 at number 6. This program was choreographed by Marie France. All right, going on to the top 5, we have yet another Japanese skater, and this is Wakaba Haguchi's free skate. Running Up That Hill, that was the second piece of music. The first piece was a song called Nature Boy. I really love the beginning. The music is a bit haunting off the top, and it just kind of sets a bit of an ominous tone. It then changes, to Running Up That Hill right as she does a triple jump into a double axel combo that I think just kind of transitions the music really well. I love how it ends on a piano versus like the big dramatic Running Up That Hill epic version that she uses at times, that she actually ends kind of with a piano piece. It gives the program just a lot of different feels to it, a lot of range. And this is a program that to me stood out not just at the beginning of the season when I first saw it, but it stood out in practice when I first saw it at Skate America. Whereas some of these programs on the list had to warm up to a little bit, think about it a little bit, but this one for me was always a standout. It always just gave me like chills in that last like minute and a half of the program. And of course it was so good just to see Wakaba like back and healthy and skating at the top level. I feel like she was very underscored in her PCS all season. I get it. People will say she doesn't have the transitions and this and that and what have you. But I just felt like that at the end of the season, like this program really stood out for me as one of my top 5 programs, and she performs it really well. And I'm still a little salty she was underscored at times. All right. Moving on to number 4. This is Laura Naki Gutmann, and this is her short program to Squid Game. It is choreographed by Stéphane Lambiel. It is just incredibly unique. I admit, I have never seen Squid Game. I don't really know what it's about. And that's okay, because I don't feel like I need to understand Squid Game to appreciate this program. It sort of has a similar start to her short program did last year with the drum beats. She just sort of works to that really well. I don't know what it is, because Laura is somebody you could almost put in the same category as like Hana Yoshida. She doesn't have the most flow and the most musicality, but you can find music and choreography that really fits and brings out the best parts of her. And this, again, just does that so well for her for a second season in a row. The costume is wacky in the front. The back is very similar to her jumpsuit that she used in last year's short program. The program is just really quirky, but it works. And the first time I saw it, I wasn't sure what to think of it. And it's something that definitely grew on me. It's got kind of an arcade, gamey style, like Pac-Man kind of music almost at times. Has a really fun ending to the program. It just feels really appropriate for it as well. And it's it's so cool when you have something that just stands out like this in a sea of, classical pieces and tangos and slow covers of different pieces of music. Like, this was just so out of the box that you could do nothing but sit back and just pay attention to it. And I love that she just brings this quirkiness to her skating, and I can't wait to see what she has next season in the Olympic year. Number 3, all right, getting into my top 3. So number 3 is Reno Mitsuk, and this is her free skate to Lux Eterna, and it was choreographed by Lori Nickel, which is so great to see Lori choreographing singles. She does, of course, a lot for pairs, for Chinese pairs over the years. And of course, she famously was Michelle Kwan's original choreographer. So it was so nice to see her choreograph some women's programs this season. This program is just gorgeous. She just has such an ease to her skating. There's just such joy that comes out of it. Just the flow out of her jumps is really strong. The use of her arms at times. She never overperforms. She never over emotes. It's always just exactly what is needed in that space of time. It's not fake. It's almost subtle at times. It just kind of is mesmerizing. And every single performance she had this season, the commentators were just gushing over her skating skills, and just an amazing. This is one that I knew from the time I saw it at Skate Canada that it was going to be on my season's best list, and is only beat out by 2 just really top-notch, terrific programs. So I think that was 5 different Japanese ladies that made the season's best list. That's half. I think they were a pretty strong contingent last season as well. It's not surprising because, like I said, in the Grand Prix, they just absolutely dominated. The only reason they didn't dominate the ISU championships is because they can only send 3 skaters at a time. All right, moving on to the top 2. Number 2 is Alyssa Leu's short program To Promise. And I know for a lot of people, this is going to be their number 1 program of the season, and I get it. I thought it would probably be my number 1 as well, but there was one program that stood out to me all season as well. And ultimately, I went with Alyssa at number 2, even though it has an emotional component to this program, especially the way that she skated it at Nationals and at Worlds that no other program on this list has. She just connected to this program so well, and the audience connects to her in this program. And she just skates very free, and it just comes from a very authentic place. The step sequence doesn't look like work. It just really flows. It's choreographed by Massimo Scali, who she loves working with and who knows her and her strengths very well. It was like the perfect program to really show like the evolution of her and the maturity that she has gained in this 3-year layoff that she had. It was just absolutely gorgeous. It took me much longer to come around to her free skate, which I ended up enjoying as well. But for me, there was just absolutely no contest which of her programs would make this list. This short program is just really a standout. And for right now, I mean, this is like her signature piece, the best program that we've ever seen her do. And it's eclipsed by 1 program. And for me, it was Nina Penzeroni. And this is her free skate to music from The Handmaid's Tale. Now, I've actually never seen The Handmaid's Tale. That TV program debuted when I was pregnant. And I thought, boy, what an inappropriate program to watch while someone's pregnant. So I never watched it. I've never seen it. And everybody was saying when this program first debuted at Skate America, they were like, how inappropriate for her to do a program to Handmaid's Tale. And it turns out that while they're using the music from The Handmaid's Tale, they're using a voiceover at the beginning from The Handmaid's Tale. The story itself has absolutely nothing to do with The Handmaid's Tale. So this is what she told the press after her skate in her second Grand Prix. It was, we created this program with Benoit is that I portray a girl whose boat sank and she died. She gets one last opportunity to see the world and say goodbye to her friends and family. And towards the end, she knows she has to leave. So it has nothing to do with The Handmaid's Tale, which in a way it's kind of like, thank goodness. It's interesting that they have this whole dramatic story that it's about, but the program itself is just gorgeous. I doesn't matter to me what the story is. It just perfectly encompasses everything that Nina does so well. Her artistry, the flow even out of her jumps with her arms, everything is so beautifully done. Her dress, the music is very subtle, but it just showcases her so incredibly well. I think the starting pose and the opening choreography as she's pushing herself off the ice is just very good. She has great flexibility and control in her spins. I just love that knee slide that she does across the ice. She just has incredible artistry that I just don't think is well appreciated by the judges, and I don't know why. I think part of it is she gets penalized for these under rotations that she does, but this program to me is just gorgeous. And even though she struggled at times throughout the season, it was always just really, really stunning. I think at Europeans, it was probably at its best. But I remember watching it at Skate America live, sitting next to Lynn Rutherford, who's a long, long time figure skating reporter. And she was like, that's some of Benoit's best work, and that was early in the season before it really had a chance to even meld and come together. And, but yeah, just watching it Europeans, I was like, wow, like it's between her and Alyssa's program, that's going to be one or two. And watching it at Worlds in person, I got to see this program in person twice. It's just gorgeous to me. And so it is number one for me this season. All right. So that wraps up my top 10 list. As always, I like to rank the top 10 skaters of the season. And this was no easy task. Kind of like for the men, there was a lot of chaos a bit amongst the female skaters this season that made it a little bit challenging to compile this list. So I would love to hear your thoughts on who you would rank as the top 10 skaters. This is what I went with. All right. So number one for me was easy. Cowie Sookamoto. No, she didn't win the world championships, but she was so incredibly strong all season, in a season that was really kind of dominated in the first half by Amber Glenn. And then in the second half of the season, all of a sudden Alyssa sort of came out of the woodwork a little bit. So ultimately I landed on Cowie because I felt like that just over this course of the season, she had the most consistency this season. I put Mona Chiba at number 2 because outside of Four Continents, the free skate where she was just not feeling well, she was super strong all season, medaled in every single event that she was at. And to me, showed more consistency than the two American skaters who I have at 3 and 4. I did go with Amber for 3 just because she was undefeated this season up until she got to Worlds. And then I put Alyssa at 4. Yes, she's world champion, but that was the only event that she actually won this season. Well, she did win a challenger at Budapest, but when we, came down to the Grand Prix, she had a really strong short program, was in medal position in both of those Grand Prix, but couldn't sustain it in the free skate. She was leading after the short program at Nationals, couldn't sustain it in the free skate. Was the only American lady not to get on the podium at Four Continents. So while she had a fantastic end of the season at Worlds and World Team Trophy, it wasn't enough to bring her into the top 3, in my opinion, for the entire season as a whole. So I put her at number 4. Number 5, I have Chion Kim, which for me, the rest of all of the skaters on this list just come in either with some inconsistencies or a bit of an incomplete. So with Chion, had one good Grand Prix, one not good Grand Prix, ends up not making Grand Prix final. She rebounds tremendously, wins Asian Games, wins Four Continents, comes in as one of the favorites to Worlds, and then stumbles at Worlds. So it was very inconsistent for her this season. When she was on, she was fantastic. 147 points she got in that free skate at Four Continents. 74 points she got in that short program at Four Continents. So when she was at her best, she was really, really strong. And she was never terrible, obviously, at any one point. But for me, I had her at 5. I put Isabeau at 6, which probably seems a bit wild because we didn't see her a lot this season. We just saw her at Skate America. Then we didn't see her again basically until Worlds. She was at Road to 26 Trophy. But even the 2 competitions that we saw her at, she was really pretty strong there. obviously just missing out on the podium at Worlds and then winning the short program at Skate America, ultimately ending up third there. I put her just ahead of Wakaba Haguchi at 7 because they go head-to-head twice. Wakaba wins Skate America. Isabella ends up finishing higher than her at Worlds. But across the 4 programs, she just lost to Wakaba in that free skate at Skate America. She beat her in the short program at Skate America and at both segments of the competition at Worlds. So ultimately, I went with Isabeau over Wakaba, even though Wakaba competed in the entire season. I put Hana Yoshida at 8. She was just kind of unfortunate that she was stuck behind Mona and stuck behind Wakaba because she won Finlandia Trophy. She made it to Grand Prix final again. Couldn't get that triple axel consistent this season. Did make some strides in the short program. Ultimately, I put her ahead of the rest of the pack, but she ends up 8th. 9 and 10 was tough to make a decision about because you've got both Ninas here. You've got Nina Penzeroni, who medaled at Europeans, was always in the mix of the Grand Prix, even though she couldn't find her way onto the podium. Nina Petrokina won Europeans, but was very uneven really before then. She faltered again at Worlds, and so I just really couldn't put her there either. Ultimately, I went with Brady Tennell at 9 and Sarah Everhard at 10. I just felt like they were more consistent than Reno Mitsuk for Japan and Rinko Watanabe for Japan, who I also had in this conversation. Medaled at 4 continents. Both of them were oh so close to medaling on the Grand Prix. Just like a hair here or there, like a call on a step sequence or a spin would have put them there. And so I put them in the top 10, which means I have 5 US skaters in the top 10, which is wild. And then there's 4 Japanese skaters in the top 10, and then Chion Kim. It was, like I said, you could make an argument for any number of other skaters kind of being in the top 10. And we had a lot of skaters have really breakout seasons, like Loranaki Gutman and Anna Panzetta, and, Gubanova had just way highs and way lows. So very interesting women's season that we had this year. And then going into the Olympic season, what's that going to look like? Or is it going to be Kaori going in as the favorite? Does Alyssa emerge as the favorite? Is it going to be Adelia Petrosian, who's going to be representing Russia? Well, representing neutral athletes from Russia, but not Russia, like whatever they're going to call them. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for the U.S. team. They've got, I feel like, 3 pretty solid ladies at the top, but they've got some people behind them that can make a case. Team Japan, it's going to be a bloodbath getting on that team. The team, again, the 3 that were at Worlds this season makes for a really great representation for them, but they've also got a lot of really good skaters behind them also. And Team Korea, who was so dominant in the last couple of seasons, really fell apart, unfortunately, this year. But Young Yu and Hyen Lee have both been reinstated. And what does that look like for them? They'll only have 2 spots to show for it, unfortunately for them, but we'll see. Exciting season for sure. All right, that is it for me for the 24-25 season. It's been a long season. I start the very beginning of the year and the first challenger that I can get my eyes on all the way up here where it's June 1st. This is my 173rd episode of the podcast, which is wild. It's a lot of podcasting that I do. So all that to say, I am taking June off. Whenever the Grand Prix assignments drop, which will likely be sometime in June, definitely look for a podcast. I will 100% put up a podcast on that. I can't wait for those assignments. There's a lot of very interesting matchups, very spicy things to look forward to there. But as far as my career look backs go, Shoma Uno will be coming in July, along with a pairs episode that will not be Sui and Han, because as I alluded to in my pairs season's best list, that it looked like the rumors were that Sui and Han were going to be making a comeback because apparently they were not happy with the progress of Wei Sui's new partner, and Hong Kong is on the doping list to be back into doing regular drug tests. he took a picture with the national team, and so it appears that they will be making some sort of a comeback. No idea what they're going to look like. They are the reigning Olympic champions, but they haven't competed in some time. I don't know that they've even done a lot of show skating together. So there's a lot of question marks there. But even so, that cancels my career look back since they are kind of looks like they've been resurrected. So I plan on doing Alexa Knierim, who is not officially retired, but she is very pregnant and looks to me like she probably will not be coming back to skating. So I'm going to be doing a career look back on her and ranking the programs with both her, with Chris, and with Brandon Fraser. So that'll be fun. And I haven't done a pairs look back yet. And so I look forward to that. And those will be dropping in July with the Shoma Umo podcast as well. And then once the challengers start up in late August, early September, I'll be back to podcasting again. But like I said, I'll be taking a break. But in the meantime, feel free to catch up on any episodes that you have missed from the podcast in the past. I appreciate you for listening, for your comments, for your reviews, for your listens, all of those things. Please subscribe if you have not already on YouTube and to your podcasting platforms. You can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. And I'll be back with Grand Prix assignments whenever they're out. All right, friends. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.